everyone's here. Yeah. Prynawn da, croeso I cyfarfod, diolch I chi gyd am ddod. Good afternoon and welcome to today's Planning, Regulatory and Licensing meeting of Wednesday, 11th of September 2024 at 5 p.m. Agenda item number 1, apologies for absence. We have none, everyone is here. Okay, agenda item number 2, declarations of interest. Members are reminded of their personal responsibility to declare any personal and prejudicial interest in respect of matters contained in this agenda in accordance with the provisions of the Local Government and Finance Act 1992 relating to council tax, the Local Government Act 2000, the Council's Constitution and the Members' Code of Conduct. Members are reminded that they must identify the item number and subject matter that their interest relates to and signify the nature of the personal interest. And where members withdraw from a meeting as a consequence of the disclosure of a prejudicial interest, they must notify the chair when they leave. Are there any members who would like to make a declaration of interest? Councillor Brent Carter.
Yeah, potentially, Chair. Just need to seek advice from Geraint. And just apologies, I'm just trying to get through to it. It's in regards to item 6, land at the pavilion and changing rooms. The gentleman in question, Justin O'Brien, is one of my cousins. So do I need to declare an interest, even if it's on something other than that?
Prejudicial, can't you?
Yeah.
So you can be seen as one or the other, but it's a matter for you to decide whether you want to declare.
No, that's okay. I don't need to. Thank you, Chair. Thanks,
Okay.
Chair.
Okay. Any other members? Okay, I'm going to declare an interest in agenda item number 5, which is customer and staff parking for Merthyr Motor Auctions and associated boundary treatments and hard and soft landscaping. It could be argued that I have a prejudicial interest as my community group has benefited from the loan of equipment that has in turn benefited the community of Dowlas and Pant. Okay. Anyone else? No. Okay. Agenda item number 3 is part of fact-finding visits, planning application P/24/0089. Councillor Lee Davis.
I might need to declare an interest as well, along with Michelle. I'm secretary of the Gurness Men's Project that has a van on loan from Merthyr Motor Auctions, so I'm going to declare an interest in that as well. But I don't look after the van is nothing to do with me. I've never driven it, but it's part of the community group that we have a community benefit from that van.
And your
so
personal or prejudicial?
Well, I'm part of Cyfarthfa Community Group, which again has benefited because we have the loan of a van from Merthyr Motor Auctions.
Okay, fact-finding visits, agenda item number 3, planning application number P/24/0089. These are the minutes for the meeting that took place on Monday, 22nd of July, 2024, in regard to Mount Pleasant Hotel, Mount Pleasant Cardiff Road in Merthyr Vale. Agenda item number 4, also fact-finding visit, application P/24/0058. These are the minutes of the meeting that took place again on Monday, the 22nd of July, 2024, in regard to 75 9th Avenue in Ballinacre. Okay. We'll do both together as your information reports. Would someone be able to move the reports, please? Oh, okay. Councillor Clive Tuvey, forward, and second, Clive Jones. Lovely. Okay. Raise your hands for...
How are they voting, Matthew?
Yeah? Okay. Okay. So on the first one is voting on the minutes for Mount Pleasant Hotel, Mount Pleasant. If you all vote. As to the accuracy of the minutes. Okay, everybody's voted. That's passed. Agenda item number 4, and this is in regards to the minutes for 75 9th Avenue in Ballinacre. Can we vote again, please? Okay, all carried. Thank you very much. Okay, agenda item number 5. I'm going to hand over to the Vice Chair. And leave. I've got everything here, Clive, if you want it. It's open there.
Thanks. Sorry? So quite, I was wondering, yes, yeah. Agenda item 5, application P-21-0364, the land north of Merthyr Motor Auctions, Pant Road. Who's going to present? Fair enough then. David Cross will present the report.
Thank you, Chair. I'm just going to pull up the presentation. A second. Okay, so this application relates to an area of land adjacent to Merthyr Motor Auctions to the north of the main facility. This application seeks permission to construct an enclosed car park to form part of the Merthyr Motor Auction and would accommodate a total of 28 car parking spaces for staff and customers. The car park would be accessed via the existing Merthyr Motor Auction premises and would utilise the existing entrance onto Pant Road. The proposal also includes the erection of an acoustic fence along part of the boundary, as well as extensive planting of hedgerows and trees. There's been no objection raised from consultees. However, following the publicity exercise, a petition was received objecting to the development with a total of 34 signatures, along with 6 letters of objection. Additionally, it's acknowledged that 7 letters of support for the development have also been received. A summary of the points raised in favour and against the development has been set out in the report already. So, the need for the development has come about as a result of the highway improvement works along the Heads of the Valley Trunk Road, which, when completed, will result in a shortfall of land available to accommodate the necessary parking required for staff and customers, which in turn would impact on the general operations of the auction business. Careful consideration has been set out in the report of the potential impact of the development on the character of the area, the impact on the amenity of nearby residential properties, particularly in terms of noise, hence the provision of an acoustic barrier. Regard has also been given to the potential impact on ecology and the proposed landscaping. Additionally, regard has also been given to the potential highway implications along the local highway network. So overall, the development is deemed to be acceptable, and it's recommended in the report that planning permission be granted subject to conditions set out on pages 31 and 32. So just to go through some of the slides. So on the first plan here, you can see the red line outlines the extent of the application boundary, but the main part of the development relates to the southern part there, with landscaping sort of proposed elsewhere. To give you a better context at the site, so you can see there's already quite a lot of disturbance in the area as a result of the Heads of the Valley work, and the area interested is this grassed area just north of what is, this area to the south would have been utilised already as part of the Merthyr Motor Auction, so they're essentially looking to extend their premises. So the following plan sets out the general arrangement. So essentially, the existing access to the car park is here. That already serves the main auction facilities, and there'll be a new access branching off, essentially creating a gap between the existing hedgerow to then lead into the main car parking area, which would be generally arranged around the perimeter. And as you can see, there's a number of areas around these kind of circles represent additional tree planting, as well as some hedgerow planting along the boundaries as well. The acoustic fence is also along the top and to the right of the plan as well. The following photos give you an indication of what it's currently like on site. So the top two pictures just set out the green space where the extended car park would be. You can see the existing hedgerow on the far right, which is the extent of the existing premises. The development would essentially come up close to the existing footpath. And the bottom photo sets out the existing access into the site, which should also be utilised. There are, as part of the proposal, some changes to the boundary treatments and the gate opening to provide a bit more manoeuvrability. Yeah, so thank you, Chair. That's everything. Any questions?
No, sorry, yeah, we literally introduced. Yeah, we just ask now if there anyone wants to speak against. Yeah, I'll do that. Right.
Yeah, in accordance with the new constitution now, there is the opportunity for public speaking in relation to plan applications. The usual order would be objectors would speak first, then the applicant, and then a local ward member that's not on planning committee. In the case of this application, there's only the applicant speaking, so I'll shortly hand over to Ms Cheney on behalf of MMA. Just to sort of clarify, you have 5 minutes. I think, Mark, if we're getting close, if 30 seconds, we've got the time there to see. So let you know if you're getting close. But just for reference for everyone else in the room as well, when there are 2 speakers, which is the maximum, the 5 minutes is shared between those 2 speakers, and it's up to the speakers to determine how that 5 minutes is split. When the first speaker stops, we will pause the countdown, so to give the second person a chance to sort of compose themselves and take over. And again, we'll get a flash of warning up to let you know that you're coming close to your time. But for now, over to Ms Cheney.
Thank you. Afternoon, members. I speak on behalf of MMA, the family vehicle auction business selling to over 50 countries worldwide from Pant Road, Dowlais. Whilst MMA are a vehicle auction, they represent so much more than that. Talk to any of the 35 or so long-standing employees or their repeat customers or the local charities that they support, and they'll all tell you that this is a long-established business rooted in Dowlais and supporting the local community, providing much-needed local jobs together with spin-off work to businesses such as local MOT garages and body shops. Turning to the application before you, I'd like to thank the officer for the detailed committee report appraising the proposal. You will see that the proposal is 150 square metres smaller than the original scheme and provides for 28 car parking spaces in replacement of land lost to the A465 works. The officer report responds to the public representations, and on this point I'd like to reiterate the following. That the open area subject to this application forms a very small part of a much wider undesignated green area. The proposed scheme ensures the design is in keeping with the area and softens the appearance of the scheme against the backdrop of the new A465 by planting of 6 specimen trees, 8 climbing ivies, and over 280 hedging plants, plus areas of wildflower planting. This planting is expected to provide greening of the area and a net benefit for biodiversity with impacts adequately mitigated both on and off the site. No changes are proposed to the existing Hafod footways, though the proposal does extend slightly nearer to them. The proposed CCTV and activity on the site, especially on auction days, will contribute to natural surveillance, increasing safety and security of the area. Residential amenity has been fully assessed, and with the mitigation of a timber acoustic fence is considered acceptable in ensuring that ambient noise levels do not increase as a result of the scheme. To clarify, MMA does not have other more appropriate land for this proposal. The CPO process is a very long one, and as part of that process, MMA are required to mitigate their loss of land. After careful consideration, this site was deemed the most appropriate to mitigate the loss of space from the neighbouring car park. Letters supporting the proposal confirm the land is considered crucial for the continued operation of the business and in turn is important to the ongoing support of the community. Should the site not be approved, there is concern among residents that car parking on surrounding highways could increase and cause highway problems due to the lack of on-site staff and customer spaces. In summary, The proposal for staff and customer parking forms 850 square metres of replacement land for that permanently lost through the A465 roadworks. At the end of the works, MMA will be in land deficit of over 1,000 square metres. MMA have demonstrated they need this land in order to mitigate the land lost. The principle of development in this location is considered acceptable within the primary growth area where new development is encouraged. The small loss of undesignated green area with the mitigations proposed is also considered acceptable in planning policy terms. The proposal with mitigations is shown within the committee report to fully meet national and local planning policy and has no objections from any MTCBC officers, Welsh Government or DC Welsh Water. Finally, the A465 roadwork has massively affected the operations on the MMA site for over 4 long years. We urge you to consider that permitting the use of this land allows MMA to continue to represent Dowlais in the international market and, most importantly, to provide local jobs and support the local community on its doorstep. Members are therefore asked to support the officer recommendation and approve this application. Thank you.
Do any of the committee members have any questions for the agent? Yeah, well, clarification questions.
Yes. It's in relation to any work that takes place at night. You know, I'm aware of the site and there's lots of movement of vehicles. You're moving nearer to the residents there because of this application. So what time would you, I mean, you have to move vehicles as part and parcel of the jobs there. What would be the latest time at night you would move vehicles, and what would be the noise factor then?
I believe there is a condition, a proposed condition placed on the application within the committee report that says that the use would be until 10 p.m. Am I right in saying that? We'll respond. Okay. But in terms of the auction process, generally sort of 9:30 would that be 9:30? Yeah, and it's only 2 days a week an auction, a Monday and a Thursday.
So there would be no vehicles moved after 9:30 at any time?
As far as I'm aware, the staff and the auction proceedings would have been wrapped up by that time.
Okay, thank you.
Are there no other questions from the committee? No. Do you want to make any comments?
Just to clarify on the point of the condition 5, it relates to the use of the flood lighting, so that coincides then with the opening times from 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. So after that, all the lighting should be switched off.
Which is the normal practice now, anyway, the SAC continues, right? Okay.
Applicant.
No further questions for the applicant. No. Yeah. So, have the committee got any questions? Councillor Jones.
Yes, the acoustic fence. What would be the normal height of that? You know, there are acoustic fences and acoustic fences.
I believe in this instance, the acoustic fence would be, I think, 2.1 metre high. Just double check. Yeah, 2.1 metre high. So normally you could put a fence up without planning permission up to 2 metres high. So it's a little over.
About 7 foot?
Yeah, 2 metres, about 6'6". So yeah, maybe
up to
7 foot. 7 foot, yeah.
Right, okay. In the report, on page 30, third paragraph down, it says that, I quote, it's acknowledged that there are concerns with a potential increase in crime associated with the use of the footpath due to some parts of the path not being visible from the wider surroundings. So is that a fact, that there's some parts of the path that are not visible? And is that overcome with, CCTV cameras that are due to be placed there?
So I've just brought back the site plan. So as you can see, the footpath is here. And it sort of extends across and across there. So in my view, if I show you back on the aerial photograph, that's probably, you can see the extent of the path here. So the development just stops essentially short of that path. In my view, that path is still fairly open to the public, and there's no hidden corners or anything like that. So I don't think to cause any concern.
There are no parts of that where a human being cannot be seen. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, you would have clear sights ahead of you and behind you and to the side. And you can be seen from the main road, yes.
Right. That's okay. Thank you.
Are there any other questions? Oh, Councillor Thomas.
Yeah, just one quick one. Am I right in saying that where the playground was now, that is coming back and being reintroduced as a playground from where the auctions are parking at the moment?
I believe that's the case, yes. Obviously, once all the sort of compound areas for the highway works have all been cleared up, this will obviously allow the compound on the other side to be taken away, temporary compound, and then they can sort of create this parking area and operate then as they did before, basically.
Thank you.
Oh, Councillor Jones.
And if it's been changed, so it's been placed in a different position, am I right? The playground's going to be moved?
No, the playground will be
same area.
Yeah, as you before you drive under the Heads of Valley from
the
Dowler side.
I know, it's on the opposite side of the road.
left-hand side, yeah.
Yeah, so it's remaining exactly as it is.
Yeah.
Okay.
Are there any other questions from the committee members? Are there any comments? No comment. Oh, Councillor Scott Thomas.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. I was just waiting to see if anybody had any comments, and nobody is. You did press through, Don. No. Go first.
I did press, but it went off. Yeah, thanks, Chair. Yeah, just to say, though, the car auctions have been there for quite a number of years now, and over the last 4 years, the work with the Heads of the Valley and what they've had to put up with, I think they've traded on and kept going really well, to be honest with you. And it's a premier business in the county borough of Merthyr Tydfil, and as been stated previously by the lady there, that they export all over the country. As a business, I think a business we ought to look after, and to that point, I will be supporting this application this evening. Thank you, Chair.
Are you proposing it? Or are there any other comments?
Chair, I'll come in now. Yeah, the other Councillor Thomas kind of stole my thunder on that one. Yeah, it is obviously a premier business, and as obviously the lady said, they actually supply around the world, and I would like to echo Councillor Thomas's sentiments there, and I would like to move the report.
Is there a second? Second. Got a second. So we'll take it to the vote then. Yes, that's carried unanimously then. Okay, thanks.
Okay, agenda item number 6, application number P/23/0216, extension to existing changing rooms, a new boundary fence to lower pitch, Lander Pavilion and changing rooms at Pantiffin Road, Penyard. The report author is Judith Jones, case officer is Rebecca Owens, and David Cross, are you presenting?
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Chair. So this application relates to an existing playing field and changing room building located off Pantiffin Road. Planning permission is sought for an extension to the existing changing room building to provide a small gym and ladies changing facilities, as well as solar panels on the roof. Additionally, a new boundary fence is to be erected around the southern playing field, which would include 2 sections of high ball fencing. No objections have been raised by consultees. However, as a result of the publicity exercise, 16 letters of objection were received. A summary of the concerns are set out in the report and included potential restricted access to the field by the public, parking in the area, and the visual impact of the fencing. The general design of the proposed extension and boundary fencing is deemed to be acceptable and would not have a significant impact on the surrounding area. Indeed, fencing has already been erected around the upper playing field, and the majority of the fencing does not require planning permission. The development would not adversely impact on the amenity of the neighbouring properties, nor would it give rise to significant ecological impacts. As such, the development is considered to be acceptable, and it's recommended that planning permission be granted subject to the conditions on pages 41 and 43 of the report. So just to go through some of the slides here. So the extent of the application is the red line, but as you can see at the northern part here is where the existing changing facilities are, and the building would be extended to the side and a little bit to the rear. And then this blue outline across the bottom is the extent of the boundary fencing, and then at either end of the football pitch would be the high ball fencing. So that just gives you a bit more context of the area. So the changing room, as you can see, that's the existing building at the top, and it's the bottom field that would have the additional fencing. The following plan just gives you an impression of the design of the extension. So it's fairly consistent with what's already there, just is a continuation to the one side. And as you can see on the top right there, that's an example of the high ball fencing, which is sort of like a mesh, and that's to effectively stop balls, leaving the football pitch. The next plan just sets out the existing fencing as it stands on the left around the upper field, and the proposal is to do something similar on the lower field, as I say, with the high ball fences either side. The 2 plans illustrate what the existing building is like, and as you can see, the fencing that we've got already around the field, that's essentially similar to what is proposed on the lower sections. And the photo on the bottom is where the building would be extended to the side of that. And as part of the proposal, there would be some planting along the boundary as well, just to soften up the rear appearance of that along the main highway. And then finally, the following picture sets out the lower pitch. So you can see it's a fairly open area. There's already a bit of a fence around the side, but that would obviously be replaced then with the proposed fencing around the full perimeter. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, David. The next format, this is the first time this has happened, following a change to the Constitution. You've done that?
On the first one, yeah.
Oh, great.
Yeah,
Lovely.
yeah.
Okay, I'll pass over to you.
Yeah, I think we did have 2 people ready to speak. I don't think Miss Butler is here to speak on this application, so it's only yourself, Mr. Davis. No, we can't give that information out. So you do have the full 5 minutes now to speak, and then committee will be able to ask you questions of clarification after. So we've got the timer ready, Mark? Yeah.
I'm not the only one that's complained about, public access, we've been denied for the last year and a half since the plans were started. All these gates and fences are locked. There's about 6 entrances and there's a lock on every one of them. So we've been denied access by Georgetown Football Club. For what reason, I don't know. I understand from Georgetown Football Club, and I hope you're not going to vote on because I think you've got a conflict of interest, your councillor. So I hope he's not going to vote on the final decision. That's only my opinion. Car parking and highway assessment. According to your internal memorandum, you've done a highway assessment. Admittedly, the fencing won't interfere with the highway. The buildings won't interfere with the highway. As regards to traffic, I don't see anything in the report at all. All the neighbours have complained about parking. In fact, I've actually had to go to court because somebody wouldn't move their car to let me out of the street. I was proven innocent in that respect, but you know, they're all liars. So anyway, as I said, are we going to get access to this field? You know, we've had this. I've been living there 46 years, and those fields have always been open. Why have they got to fence them? Basically, yes, that's as much as I can think of at the moment.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Davis. We're going to go to questions from the committee for Mr. Davis, but obviously these should be for clarity only. We're not here to question Mr. Davis, so I don't know if anyone has. Councillor John Thomas.
Thank you, Chair. When you say the public are denied access, in what way do you mean? What would you want to use it for?
Well, walk their dogs, children play in that area. They've all been denied that. If I can remember. You know where my street is Blind End. I can't get out half the time.
Councillor Brent Carter.
Yeah. Thanks. Is that on? Yeah. Thanks, Chair. Firstly, I'm not quite sure what the gentleman means by with regards to voting. I did ask earlier on about declaring interest just because the applicant happens to be a cousin of mine. I haven't got a personal or a prejudicial interest in this application. However, I am minded if the objector thinks that I possibly will have to leave and not vote. Obviously, I'd seek advice from yourself, Geraint.
As I explained to you at the start of the meeting, Councillor Carter, it's a matter for you as to whether you want to declare a personal or a prejudicial interest. The view that the objector has is his view. It is your decision as to whether you have either a personal or a prejudicial interest.
Thanks, Chair. I have neither, so I will remain in the meeting.
Yeah.
Anything else from members? No? Okay. We're going to public speaking by applicant, agent or supporter, but I don't believe there are any. Mr. Davis, I'd just like to thank you for speaking, because I know it's not easy, you know, to get up in front of people and speak. It is difficult, and it normally takes councillors years, you know, to speak in front of people. I believe you can go back to the audience if you want.
You can stay there for the rest of the
Okay.
and then.
Yeah, you can stay there then. No, that will be it. Okay. I think probably this will be raised by one of the committee when they ask questions of the officers. Okay. Did an elected member from the ward? Yeah, okay. Councillor Carter's leaving. Did an elected member from the ward want to speak? Andrew, did you want to come in? No? You're fine. Yeah. Okay. Planning officers, did you have any comments that you wanted to make following what you've heard already? To clarify anything?
Yeah, in terms of the public access, I said we are aware that there have been issues since the pitch was transferred to Jawson Boys Club, but there is a clause in the lease that public access must be retained, the gates must be unlocked, and if this permission was given place, that would then be something for our estates department to enforce through the lease that they have with the Boys Club.
Okay. Questions from committee members, as we would as normal. Any committee members for questions? Councillor John Thomas.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. On page 37, on the bottom bullet point there, the area is identified as a high-risk area by the Coal Authority, and there is already a sinkhole near to the proposed site, which is not currently fenced off. Now, halfway down that page as well, the Coal Authority has no objections to it. Can you tell me if Georgetown have done any works, like drilling works or anything, to find out if that ground is suitable?
So the high risk area, so the Coal Authority provide a plan that sets out high and low risk areas, and part of the requirement where there is a high risk area is that a coal mining risk assessment would be normally undertaken, and then we'd obviously seek advice then from the Coal Authority as to whether that causes any particular problems. The Coal Authority have indicated that there is some historic records in the area. However, the coal mining risk assessment that was submitted didn't identify that as being a particular problem for the proposed development. In response to that, the Coal Authority were satisfied that was the case. So that has been looked into as part of the application.
Lovely. Thanks, Dave. Same page on the second bullet point, parking the cars during training and matches is raised as a concern, with the cars being parked on private land and blocking the gates. I quite understand what Mr. Davis has said about the parking on the private land, you know. It is totally unacceptable, really. Like, I was the licensee of the Farmers Arms pub, just on the end of that street where Mr. Davis lives. I understand. I was there in 1999 and we had the parking problems then. Have Georgetown been made aware in their asset transfer about the parking issues on the private land areas and in front of people's gates?
I'm not sure if that's directly covered in the sort of lease agreement, but like, they have been made aware to ensure that people attending training and matches are parking as considerately as possible. If it does become an issue, that's not something the planner can necessarily control in terms of sort of illegal parking or parking where people shouldn't be. That would be matter for a different authority.
You mean the thing the states would put into the contract type of thing, if you like, then? No?
I don't think. I'm not sure okay. On that one.
Yeah, okay, thanks, Chair. We'll come back on comments.
Okay, thank you, Councillor John Thomas. Councillor Clive Jones.
The head of engineer referred to the lease and what was in the lease there. Did I hear correctly, and just to confirm, that the gates, according to the lease, if there's any locks there, they shouldn't be locked? Is that correct?
Yeah, the gates should be unlocked. I think there is an allowance in it to have them locked when there's training and games going on, which is obviously a limited period of time throughout it, sort of an average week. But the gates should be unlocked to allow public access to the fields.
And the issue about the gates being locked all the time has been raised within the authority, and you said the estates department...
The estates department would be responsible for sort of dealing and enforcing with that, as it's something that could be in conflict with their lease.
So why hasn't anything been done in that matter? I know it's not your department.
Yeah, you'd have to speak to the estates department on that one.
Right.
Sorry, Mr. Davis. Unfortunately, there's a certain format, and you've had your time to speak. I do apologise. Any other councillors with questions? No, nobody's indicating, so we'll go on to comments. Any councillors with comments? Councillor John Thomas.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. Yeah, these mountain air playing fields have been there ever since I remember, and parking issues have always been there. You know, it was run by Dowlais Rugby Club previously, the Georgetown Boys and Girls Club coming in and taking the asset transfers over. And as we all know, you know, us as a local authority are in difficult times, and we can't look after these fields the way we'd like to look after them, you know. So it's great to see these clubs coming in, taking the asset transfers over. And, you know, we've got to support them. You know, with, like Mr. Davis mentioned earlier, that the use for them walking their dogs should not be walked on a football field. You know, if people don't pick the mess up, children, whatever, will have an injury, whatever, could come to a loss of limb, you never know. So dogs should not be walked on a football field. But going to the officer's recommendations, I am happy to support this tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor John Thomas. Any other councillors with comments? Okay, nobody's indicating. So can we have someone to move the report, please? Councillor John Thomas moves, and a seconder, Councillor Clive Tuvey, and we take this to the vote then, please, electronically again, I believe. Okay, that's carried. That's unanimous. Thank you very much. Okay, agenda item number 7, application number P/24/0058. Change of use from C3 dwelling house to C4 house of multiple occupation, HMO, for maximum of 5 occupants, 75 9th Avenue, Galanacha, Merthyr Tydfil. Report author is Judith Jones. The case officer was Adam Foote, and I believe David Cross will be presenting again.
Thank you, Chair. So this application relates to an existing dwelling in a residential area of Galanacha, and it's proposed to convert it into a house of multiple occupation for up to 5 people. The development itself would not involve any alterations to the exterior of the building, although there would be some minor internal works to accommodate an additional bedroom. Additionally, a driveway would be provided to the rear of the property to accommodate a parking space. At the planning committee held back in June, the application at the time was deferred to undertake a fact-finding visit, and that took place in July recently. As a result of the publicity exercise, as a result of the consultation exercise, there were no concerns raised. However, following the publicity exercise, we received 3 petitions objecting to the development with a total of 425 signatures. A summary of the issues are set out in the report, some of which include concerns with the location of the development, highway safety, the intensification of the use, the impact on the local community, and the potential for antisocial activity. The property itself is located within the settlement limits and is already utilised for residential purposes. As such, the principle of the development would be acceptable, albeit the nature of the residential use would differ slightly. Consideration has been given to the residential nature of the HMO and the potential impact it may have on the amenities of neighbouring properties. In this regard, it's not considered to be significantly worse than the existing residential use of the property. Considerations also been given to the parking requirements of the development, the availability of parking in the surrounding area and along the highway, and how this may compare to the present use as a residential property. In this regard, it's considered that the highway impact would not differ significantly. Notwithstanding this, as I mentioned, there would be the provision of an additional parking space to the rear of the property, which provides some slight betterment to the current arrangement. It's acknowledged that there are concerns with antisocial behaviour and the management of the property, but these issues often sit outside of the planning control and often become a matter more so for the police or environmental health to resolve. So overall, it's recommended that the application be granted and that it be subject to the conditions set out on pages 52 and 53. So just to go through some of the slides, on the left is the extent of the property, number 75. And you can see that it's within the well-established residential area. Following plans essentially just show the current arrangement. So as you can see, the main change is that there'll be the living room would be subdivided so that it would have a living room and a bedroom. Otherwise, the rest of the property remains the same. This is the extent of the property to the front. And this is the extent of the property to the rear. And as you can see, there's already a bit of a driveway and a garage, and essentially the driveway would be located to the one side of that. Chair.
Thank you, David. We're going to go on to the public speaking objectors part now. You know, you've got 5 minutes between you. I don't know how you want to divide that up. If you want to.
We do now as we're coming here. So I'm going to let the lady speak, and then I'm going to quickly put them in one.
Okay, if there's anything left, yeah. Okay, lovely.
Just to confirm as well, so if you can sort of let us know when the first speaker stops, we can pause the clock and just sort of give you a few seconds.
Let's see if you want to.
Yeah, okay. Well, dear planning committee members, I've been a member of the Galanacha community for most of my life, and I've seen many changes in the community, including community activism, where community has felt unjustly treated. Earlier this year, I became aware of the proposals for an HMO at 75 9th Avenue, which is currently a 4-bedroom property. I attended a community meeting with Councillor David Isaac at a community venue on the 25th of March, where community members present were informed that the proposed HMO would house young asylum seekers. There was also a letter sent by the company requesting planning permission, highlighting significant safety measures that would be put into place along with 24-hour call line to report any disturbances, which has raised concerns about the potential problems that may come into potential HMO. I understand the need for temporary accommodation in the borough for people in need, including asylum seekers. However, I do not feel this particular property is suitable for an HMO for the following reasons. The property is situated at the end of a street where there are double yellow lines and is adjacent to the main road through Galnacha. Housing up to 5 occupants will significantly increase parking problems within the area. HMOs are considered to be high-risk accommodation due to the vulnerable people usually housed within. The fact that all 5 occupants would be young in age could raise the likelihood of antisocial behaviour. This is a quiet street and any noise disturbance from the property would have a significant detrimental impact on the neighbours. There are currently no HMOs in Galnacha, and a worker representing the planning application has told residents this will be the first in 9th Avenue, with the further plans for a potential 2 to 3 more within the street within the next 3 years. This would alter the family nature of the estate and set a precedent in Galnacha that would likely receive significant opposition to the same or increased extent that opposition has been voiced regarding the HMO at 75 9th Avenue. The property is situated directly opposite the local children's playground, playing fields and multiple-use play area, a very short distance away from a childcare facility, and a nearby Blessed Carlo Actus Catholic School, which will be for primary through to secondary school children age. The property in question is in a significant footfall area for people using these facilities. As the property is for asylum seekers, this means information relating to the individuals will be sparse. Therefore, it is highly likely that any past offences or issues will be unknown, potentially putting the most vulnerable of our community at risk. The applicants and their organisations are situated outside of the borough, so we are unable to assess the level of management and support that they will be able to provide the community, as they do not have a proven track record. I and fellow members of my community are very anxious about this property being converted into an HMO. I do not feel that this particular property is suitable for the proposed plans due to location and impact on the surrounding community. I appreciate what you say about the outline of the house being suitable and, you know, the issues you have looked at. But I don't feel that the community have had the opportunity to have any discussion whatsoever regarding an HMO coming in to their estate. We've worked very hard in Galnacha over the years to improve things. Right? And I leave it there now because I know I'm going to bite on my colleagues' time and I don't want her not to.
You've got just over a minute.
Yeah. You've got 1 minute 20 seconds. Mrs. Little, thank you very much, and we'll pass over to Hayley Kaya.
There's been over 400 objections for this, so I think that it's up to Merthyr Council now that they listen to the people living there. I'm aware that you need to go to policy in terms of planning, but people's well-being, it's not just buildings, and planning need to be considered. This is people's well-being. What I would say is the letter that came out from D2 Propco mentioned vulnerable adults and then being monitored Monday to Friday. So we say that these vulnerable adults aren't vulnerable adults on the weekend, because I work in a school, and me thinking that my children would be near vulnerable adults that possibly were monitored on the weekend for that preschool around the corner, literally within 100 metres, that's very alarming. And I think on this instant, that this needs to be taken into consideration and not just how the building looks and how it will facilitate. Because putting that number of cameras up, we obviously foresee issues happening, and it is a well-known fact, and doing lots of research in Welsh Government reports and fact findings on HMO, that antisocial behaviour is risen. When asked in the site meeting if there were facts on it, we don't know that, so perhaps that's an investigation we need to do if crime is rising in HMOs, for you, councillors, to be fully informed on what you're voting for.
Okay, we just ran out as you finished. Okay, thank you very much to Nancy Little and Hayley Kaya. Okay, we're going to go to questions from committee members for the objectors, but as I said earlier, this would only be for clarity. Okay, nobody's indicating. We're going to go to public speaking by the applicant, and I believe Mr. James Driscoll.
Hello, is it? So this property, 75 9th Avenue, was identified as use for a temporary accommodation for young unaccompanied asylum-seeking children between the ages of 16 and 18 within Merthyr Tydfil. D2 already operates in 10 councils across the South Wales area, looking after over 350 people in 85 different temporary accommodation units. These range from small 2-bed terrace houses to 10-bed HMOs. D2 already successfully operates 5 other temporary accommodation units in the Merthyr Tydfil borough. D2 manage all of our properties very diligently. Properties are visited daily by the dedicated and fully trained house manager to check on the client's welfare and the condition of the property. Any issues are reported to the housing team, and any maintenance issues are reported to our dedicated maintenance team for action. There will be CCTV cameras covering all communal parts of the property. Each morning these cameras are checked and a full report is sent to the housing team. This is to ensure the safety and security of this vulnerable age group occupying the property. We work very closely with the council and report back the activities of the clients to the council. As this house is for 4 young unaccompanied asylum-seeking children, there will be 24/7 support within the property, provided by Merthyr Children's Services. 1 bedroom, the downstairs bedroom, will be allocated for the support worker to assist and support the younger clients. This 24/7 support is provided due to the younger age of the clients and their vulnerability. D2 keeps all of our houses to a high standard with a full-time maintenance manager and regular collections of any excess rubbish. We also employ cleaning contractors to visit on a regular basis to assist clients in keeping the property clean. D2 operates a set of strict house rules which is explained to each client on moving in, and they are required to sign a copy of these rules. If clients do not adhere to the house rules, the information is reported back to the council for them to then act on. We have a very good working relationship with the team in Merthyr and are in daily contact about all of our houses and all of the tenants in those houses. The Merthyr housing team decides who is placed following discussion on client profile. Clients that are placed are not on occupational contracts but licences, and therefore if breaches of rules occur, then these issues are dealt with and placements can be ended, and clients can then be moved on to other accommodation. If issues or any antisocial behaviour occur, then these will be addressed directly by both the house manager and the housing team immediately. D2 operates a 24/7 on-call system for both clients and neighbours, and this number will be made readily available for all neighbours. The house manager will also introduce themselves to neighbours to promote an open and approachable relationship. The level of accommodation that D2 provides for temporary accommodation is done to a very high standard, with the ethos of giving people good accommodation to live in. They will treat it well. D2 are committed to providing temporary housing solutions to vulnerable people, and we pride ourselves on providing accommodation to those without a safe place to stay. This type of accommodation is far more appropriate than bed and breakfast or hotels, and gives the client a better chance of maintaining their placement in the property and a greater chance of a successful move on to their own accommodation in the future. We also believe this type of accommodation is a significant cost saving for the local authority compared to alternatives. I hope this gives a brief understanding of our service and what type of company we are. That's it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Driscoll. We're going to go on now to questions from committee members for the applicant, and these again should be for clarity only. Councillor David Isaac.
Yes, thank you. In your speech, you actually said that this property would be for unaccompanied asylum seekers. Yet, in other questions asked of the committee and of yourself, nobody could actually see or say what it was going to be for. And it's not in the report. So, can you explain this?
We don't decide who goes in the houses. That's down to the council. So if the council decide that they want young asylum seekers to go in, then that's what we do.
Okay. Any other questions? Councillor Michelle Jones.
Thank you. Can you just confirm, did you say that bedroom 1, which was on the lower floor, was going to be occupied by somebody who's going to be there like 24/7, 7 days a week to look after these vulnerable children or adults?
housing for unaccompanied asylum seekers in other boroughs, but this is the first time in Merthyr that they would have 24/7 support. This is a decision by the council, not by us, and this is not for security reasons. This is because this is children, so children need a support worker with them. So they'd be in the downstairs bedroom. So it'd only be 4 unaccompanied asylum seekers upstairs and 1 support worker.
Thank you, Councillor Michelle Jones. Councillor Clive Jones.
Well, it's two questions. In the report, it's for 5 individuals. So has that now changed from 5 individuals to 4?
When we had to do our planning application, we had to make it to a 5-bed HMO, but at the time, I'm not sure if it was supposed to be 5 or if it was supposed to be 4, but it is 4 now.
It's 4, and there's
A support worker in the downstairs bedroom, yeah.
right. So there'd be 4 bedrooms occupied.
5. 4 by unaccompanied asylum seekers and 1 support worker
All right.
downstairs.
So it's been changed because it was originally for 5 with the 5th bedroom downstairs, but that's now changed.
So I wasn't aware at the start, but yeah, I know it now. It's 4.
Right. My other question is, how long are these individuals likely to be there? Week, month, 6 months, a year?
So it varies. Temporary accommodation, obviously, they could be there for a couple of weeks or a couple of months. It varies between individuals.
Yeah. So you would confirm there'd be high turnover?
Not necessarily, especially for children. We try to keep them in the same place if there's no problems because we don't need to move them.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Clive Jones. Any other questions from active members? Okay, nobody's indicating. Thank you very much, Mr. Driscoll. And we're going to, well, I don't believe there's any other of the ward members here. So we skip that one. Planning officers, comments on anything that has been mentioned already that you need to clarify?
I just forgot what the issue was. Sorry, Councillor Isaac. Could you just refresh my memory?
Wait for it to come. Right. On the site meeting, I'd asked that I was informed, firstly, that they were undertaking a scoping exercise to see if it was what I thought the public would like. I replied back negatively on that, in fact stating what the residents have actually said. But I was also informed that it was going to be a site for unaccompanied asylum seekers. But when I asked that question afterwards and through the council officers, they couldn't give me an answer yet. Now it's reverted back.
Yeah, so, yeah, I think, yeah, they've got the issue now in my head. And essentially, what the planning application assessing is the use of the property. I think, as we've covered on several of these types of applications previously, it's the use we're assessing. Planning cannot control who individually occupies the bedrooms, the units, provided they're within the same use class. So I think from what Mr. Driscoll has said, obviously they've been working with the housing department, and it's come to the agreement between the housing department and D2 that these would be suitable tenants for this property.
Yeah. Okay. We are going to go on now to questions from committee members, as we would normally do. So, Councillor Brent Carter.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. So just to get some clarity, Craig, in my own mind, in terms of this. So we're looking at 16 to 18-year-old asylum seekers with someone who's there 24/7, which is probably something slightly different to what I interpret on the site visits and things I've been on. So the question probably is, can this be varied at any time from housing? Obviously, I don't know if you can answer this, so I'm not sure if we can perhaps proceed with this report, or it needs to be pulled before.
I think we
deferred. I don't quite know, because if they are saying one thing, there are 16 to 18-year-olds unaccompanied, I would have thought that that tap would run dry if people are going out at a certain time, for example, or could housing put in who they wanted to after, because it's just a planning application?
Come in there. I mean, this is a planning application to determine whether the property can become a house of multiple occupation.
Right.
And that's what you are being asked to determine as the planning committee.
Understand
The actual occupants that occupy that property cannot be controlled under the planning legislation system. I don't know whether you want to add any
we'd be
more,
satisfied with what's been submitted from the applicant, that for it to be determined to be a HMO and fall on that use class, it's to do with how they live and the sort of facilities are sharing within there, not who the tenants themselves are. So I think we are satisfied that we are assessing it for the use of a HMO.
Okay, thank you, Councillor McCarter. Any other members with questions? Councillor David Isaac.
Yes, thank you. I'll get to more points in my summit when we ask for comments. Members can see the photographs that have been passed around earlier today. I asked for highways to be involved in it. Have these photographs been passed on to highways as they actually prove what the residents and I said on the site meeting?
The photos haven't been passed on to the highways department, as we received them within the time identified in the constitution, but they are then to be handed out at the meeting. There was a representative from the highways department in attendance via Teams on the meeting, but due to an emergency he's had to leave the meeting prior to this item being considered.
Most of my questions have been asked and put by the residents as well, so I'll save the rest for my summing up. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Councillor David Isaac. Any other members with questions? Councillor Clive Jones.
It's mentioned, the applicant, about CCTV. As part of the plan application, you must know where these CCTV cameras are going to be put. Inside the property, outside the property. Has that been clarified?
In terms of the CCTV, that would be down to the company managing the property, really. If they're placed within the property, that's up to them to decide where they want to do that and whether the residents are happy to have cameras within the, the relevant parts of the property. As to the outside of the building, that generally wouldn't come into the remit of planning. There are permitted development rights relating to that, and they're quite outdated, to be honest. So they tend to relate to the large cameras. So if you're putting the typical the digital small cameras in places, that likely wouldn't even require planning permission normally.
So CCTV cameras were not mentioned in the pre-application with any of the planning officers?
I don't think it was put forward as part of the proposal, but if they want to introduce it as part of the management of the property, they could do.
Okay.
Councillor Clive Jones, finished?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Sorry.
Yeah.
There was another point. My colleague just reminded me. It was mentioned by the agent that there'd be somebody there on a Monday to Friday, but sounds by the sound of it. These plans are subject to alteration in between, because we're now being told that be somebody, a support member of staff there 7 days a week. Is that correct?
Yep, that's what the applicant has stated today, yeah.
So the issue because we have to come back to the management of it. I know planners can only look at sort of the narrow angle of policies, etc. But it's all very well for them to say that there'll be staff, other staff back and forth Monday to Friday. But what happens on the weekend when things usually kick off with these properties?
Well, I believe what the applicant was saying today, that there would be someone there 7 days a week.
24/7.
Yeah.
And that's a fact then. 24/7.
Yeah, again, that's something we would not be able to control that through planning.
I know.
But again, in terms of any licensing issues or sort of the applicant's dealings with the housing department directly.
And
they
those
can
discussions about the staffing and whether it'd be there 7 days a week.
They would take place, yeah, between the housing department.
That matter must have been discussed with local authority officers in the children's department before we come here today.
Yes, I would suggest that's the case, yeah.
Councillor Clive Jones, you've finished?
Yes, yes.
Councillor Scott Thomas.
Chair, if I'd ask Dave to just go back to the original, the first screenshot of the development. Back another one, Dave. So the outline there on the left-hand side shows that the boundary goes all the way towards the pavement. Now, when we had the site visit, the question was raised about the actual ownership and access of that between, I think it was the school, the preschool. Did we actually receive any clarification on that? And if so, why then is it still included if it is in fact the preschool that sort of occupy the land then?
I think my understanding when we raised this initially with the applicants, I think my understanding is that the land is actually in council ownership.
Right.
Because there's been initial discussion, I think, with estates to confirm whether they would agree to, for that land to be the strip of land to accommodate the driveway crossing over into the property.
Okay. So obviously my concern is obviously if it has been something that's been used by the school for a substantial amount of time, then you were taking something away from them that they could be using, as a little bit of a space for comfort, space for something. I'm a little bit uncomfortable.
Councillor Scott Thomas, you finished?
Yes.
Yep. Any other members with questions? Okay, nobody's indicating. Any members with comments? Councillor David Isaac.
Yes, thank you. Placed near to a preschool, a playground, a walkway access across the Greenie, close proximity to the largest school in the borough when built, and car parking issues on the weekend. The Future Wales National Plan 2040, and I'll paraphrase it, paragraphs 3.3 to 3.18 refer to good design and better places. Design is not just about architecture of a building, but the relationship between the elements of the natural and built elements. I know this goes on for mostly countryside, but it is relevant here. It goes beyond aesthetics and includes social, economic, environmental and cultural and relationships with the surrounding area. The residents do not believe the proposal represents that the relationship with the surrounding area is met by this proposal. I'll take you to Bedlinog. The last by-election we had, the councillor was voted in with 411 votes. The residents here, you've said already, have given 425 votes against. So I cannot support this proposal and will not. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor David Isaac. Any other members with comments? Okay, nobody's indicating. Okay, before we go to the vote, can we have someone to move the report, please? Councillor Clive Tovey moves it. Can we have a second? It's just procedural. Councillor Lee Davis. And we'll take it to the vote then, please. Okay. Is that it? Yeah. Okay. Councillors have voted against the proposal. What we would normally do when there's nobody here is we would confer together, but councillors in the committee are going to leave with legal team, and we're going to go next door because there are some things that we need to discuss. I don't know if you want to tell people in the public gallery.
What we will do is we will adjourn, I would suggest, for approximately 10 minutes in order for the members and myself to go to the members' lounge to consider what members actually want to do with this now, because obviously you haven't voted in favour of the officer's recommendation, so we need to determine whether you are actually minded to do something different. We will then come back and we will explain to the audience as to how this matter will now proceed. So I would suggest that 10 minutes is more than sufficient. Unless you consider.
But I don't know if somebody wants to bring pen and paper, because obviously we're going to have to, if members are still minded to vote against it, they will have to write down exactly why they should vote against it.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, the time now is 18:20, so we will be back 18:30. Okay, sorry everyone. Thank you for your patience. I'm actually going to hand over to Geraint from the legal department, who's going to go through the process of what happens now and in the future.
Okay, what just happened in the adjournment is we had a discussion, well, the members had a discussion, and they have considered that there are 2 reasons as to why this application should be refused. I will read those out to you, and what will happen is the matter will be returned now to the next available planning committee, when the matter will be reviewed and looked at again before any decision is made as to whether planning permission should be granted. So, yeah. What, in the next meeting?
Yeah, it's not allowed.
I mean, in relation to the next meeting, when we come back, there will not be another opportunity for either the objectors or the applicants to make further representations, because they have now made their representations in relation to this planning application. So when it comes back, it will be how we normally used to deal with a planning application. It will just be the officer's report, questions to the officer, comments, and then you will move the application, second it, and then you will vote on the application. So the 2 reasons for refusal given by the members are 1, safety, and that is a highway and parking safety issue, and that's due to the additional on-street parking and congestion that may be caused. The second reason for refusal is character, and that is due to the different nature of the residential residential property or use does not fit in with the other properties that are already there, and it also goes against policies SW11 and PPW12. So the planning officers will now prepare a report for it to be returned before you on the next planning date, which I think is early October, where you will reconsider the application before you. So what I need officers to do, members to do, is to firstly move a recommendation that it be referred back to planning for those 2 reasons, for the matter to be determined at that planning committee.
Okay, the next meeting is the 9th of October, the next planning meeting. So do we have someone to move? Okay, Councillor David Isaac and Councillor Scott Thomas second. Okay.
They need to vote now.
And vote it electronically again, Matthew, that it comes back. Yeah, okay, if you'll take to the vote then, please. So this is that it comes back to the next meeting in October, on October the 9th. Lee? Lee? Sorry. Okay, that's unanimous, and it will come back to the next meeting, October 9th, for councillors either to ratify or not the decision they've made tonight. Yeah, if you're at the application that you were interested in is finished, you can leave now. And we'll give it a minute. Okay, agenda item number 8, application P/24/0089. Change of use from bed and breakfast into 2 flats and 6-bedroom HMO. Mount Pleasant Hotel, Mount Pleasant, Cardiff Road, Merthyr Tydfil. The report author is Judith Jones. The case officer is Marlene Ferreira. And I believe David Cross again will be presenting the report.
Thank you, Chair. So this application relates to a fairly large property known as Mount Pleasant Hotel, located off Cardiff Road. It's understood the property was previously used as a bed and breakfast and included a bar at one point, but this has ceased to operate for a number of years. The property is currently being used as a single residential property with a total of 8 bedrooms. There'll be no alterations to the exterior of the building, and internally there would be some minor works involving partitioning parts of the building. In the planning committee held in June, the application at the time was deferred to undertake a fact-finding visit, and this took place in July. As a result of the consultation exercise, there were no objections raised. However, following the publicity exercise, a number of objections were received from local residents, including a petition signed by 1,275 people, and a total of 91 letters were received. A summary of the main concerns have been set out in the report, but in the main, the concerns related to the detriment of the character, antisocial behaviour, parking, impact on local amenities, and the management of the property. The property itself is located within settlement limits and is already utilised for residential purposes. As such, the principle of development would be acceptable, albeit different nature in the use. Regard has also been given to its previous use as a bed and breakfast, which would have had the potential to accommodate a number of guests alongside the residential use of that property. Consideration has also been given to residential nature of the proposed flats and HMO, and the potential impact it may have on the amenities of neighbouring properties. In this regard, it's not considered to be significantly worse than the existing residential use of the property. Consideration has also been given to the parking requirements of the development, the availability of parking in the surrounding area and along the highway, and how this may compare to its previous use as a bed and breakfast. In this regard, it's considered that the highway impact would not differ significantly to the previous use. It's acknowledged that some concerns are antisocial behaviour and the management of the property, but as I said on the previous application, these are often matters outside of the control of planning and normally a matter for the police and environmental health. As such, for the reasons set out in the report, it's recommended that the application be granted planning permission, subject to the conditions on page 66 and 67 of the report. So just turning now to the slides, I guess most are familiar now, having been on site. This is the extent of the property within the community there. Following plans just set out the arrangements internally, so largely it remains similar. As I said, there are a couple of areas where internal walls have been provided to create corridors and creating new bedroom or living spaces. Similar again here for first floor. As you can see on this plan, it's proposed that there would be 2 parking spaces available. One is to the side of the property where we conducted the fact-finding visit. There's another which is sort of concealed at the moment behind a roller shutter. They have shown a 3rd space to the one side, but that would be particularly awkward to get in and out, I think. And yeah, this is just an illustration of the property in question. But I think members are fairly familiar with the site following the fact-finding visit. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you very much, David. We're going to go on to public speaking by the objectors. We have 2, I believe, Emma Yandel and Edward Rees. Obviously, you know there's 5 minutes between you, so I don't know if you've said between yourselves how much time. Is it 2.5 minutes each? Okay, at 2.5 minutes, Matthew, if you want to stop the clock. Who will be going first? Emma? Okay.
Obviously, safeguarding is a big concern of ours, but it doesn't obviously play a part in planning. So I'm not going to go on about that, but there is a park and a playing field in close proximity to the HMO proposed, and this is a big concern for our residents. What we would like to know is, you know, will there be risk assessments, and where will the blame lie if something does indeed happen to one of our children or elderly. From there, I'm going to go on to the change of character of the community. Our community has always been a really nice community, full of community spirit, and a HMO will definitely change the character of our community. As you have seen, the building is based in the middle of our community and which was once the heart of our community. At present, Mount Pleasant is a very nice place to live, and as houses families, they've lived there for generations of their lives. It's a friendly character, and it's known to hold family days and events where families from surrounding villages also attend. Most residents in the area are hard-working, considerate individuals who have worked hard to purchase their homes. Homes they're unlikely to sell if a HMO was in the middle of our community. Who will be liable then to give them the money for their homes if they want to sell? Because it's not their idea to put an HMO in the middle of their community. Homes have indeed fallen through due to the proposed HMO coming into the area. And as you can see, there are a number of houses up for sale due to what's going on as well. This is something we did not want to happen, as our residents are indeed precious to us, as we all know each other, we're one big family. Traffic management is another thing. I previously sent photos to the committee members about traffic management. Traffic is currently always on the zigzag lines where they shouldn't be. There is no sufficient parking there at all. The cars are double parked now, and when the A470 is closed due to an accident or resurfacing, say, it causes mayhem in Mount Pleasant in the main street coming through where the HMO is proposed. There was a lorry stuck the other day, and there were tailbacks for miles, and this went on for about.
Emma, sorry to interrupt. You've done the 2.5 minutes. I don't know if you wanted to hand over to Edward.
All right.
Okay. Yeah. Or you can continue and take the time off Edwards if you prefer.
Continue.
Yes.
With the traffic as well, as I said, it causes tailbacks and delays. The application states that there's a private gated drive at the side of the property, which is not true. The gates have never been closed, and the side of the property has been used as a public footpath for over 70 years. This is why residents have now applied for it to be named as a public footpath with the relevant department within the council. This has been used by the public for as long as I can remember myself, and we've got 70 plus, gentlemen, ladies also saying the same. We've got children walking down this path. It's just not going to be safe. I'll pass over to Eddie now. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Good evening, Noswaith A. The proposal has raised mental health concerns, anxiety, stress and depression among its surrounding residents and the local community. It is a proposal which is against the Wellbeing Act of 2015, since it would not contribute to the improvement of social, cultural, environmental and economic well-being. Speaking about the depression side of it and utter fear that is felt by neighbours of mine, elderly, they are terrified because they know what is contained in this report. They've lived there for years, and their fear is that they will be in permanent lockdown for the rest of their natural lives, too afraid to go out. Moving on from there to the main reason that I am here, because I don't care about myself. Personally, I've had a life, but I'm here for our children. And in this report, it says, the company leading on the application has openly stated that incidents can occur and that ex-prisoners would reside there. This could include murderers, burglars, drug dealers, paedophiles, and sexual offenders, or violently or mentally ill individuals who prey on children and young vulnerable people. This property would not have 24-hour surveillance, so its residents will do as they see fit. On the 21st of next month,
I do apologise. Your time limit has come up, but I think you've both got the points across that you wanted to get across. Okay. The next thing is questions from committee members to the objectors, if needed, although this should be for clarity only. Okay, nobody's indicating. Public speaking by the applicant? No, okay.
Can I ask why there's nobody here from the...
He is here, but I believe he probably...
Sorry, I can't hear you, Gary.
The applicant has decided not to address the committee on this application, so no.
Bit disappointing.
Okay. As the applicant hasn't spoke, we skip past questions from committee members to the applicant. Local elected member, I believe Darren would like to speak.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I've got a bit of a speech prepared, but I'd like to make reference to an email that I received at 3:15 this afternoon, and I did share it with yourself, Chair, and the Planning Department and officers. It was from Claire and James, who are joining us online this evening to witness the proceedings of this meeting. They have actually acquired the property and they're exchanging contracts tomorrow, I believe. So the basis of the sale was on the outlined planning permission for HMO to D2, but obviously that isn't going to happen now because they have purchased the property, and I'd like to welcome them to the community as well. So, afternoon, Chair, or evening as it is now, members of the Planning Committee and Council officers. As the ward member for Aberfan, Mirthvale and Mount Pleasant, who does not sit on the Planning Committee, I have been asked by residents to make representations on their behalf against the planning application that is being discussed here this evening by D2 Propco to change the former Mount Pleasant Hotel into an HMO. Since the application was submitted, there have been many stressful months for residents concerned by what impact an HMO in their small, close-knit community will have. I'm grateful for the opportunity to address the committee here this evening under the new recently passed constitution, but I'm conscious that I only have a short period of time to speak, so I will mention just a few of the concerns that I've received. Oh, you shouldn't have said that, Matthew. Digging and then everyone digging. Okay. Okay. It was mentioned by Emma earlier. A couple put their house up for sale, which received many viewings and a lot of interest. A very popular and well-presented property, I might add. An offer was made and the couple accepted that offer. A short time after, they were informed by the estate agent that the offer was withdrawn because the possibility that an HMO would be coming to the street, some 30 yards from their house. Since the withdrawal, they have not had any interest in their house. This is not the only property being affected. There are other properties for sale, and none of them are getting interest at this moment in time. Will an HMO affect the value and sale of properties in the area? Who knows? A lady who lives opposite the Mount Pleasant Hotel approached me and asked me who will be coming there if the application is approved. I explained that at this stage, no one knows. It's not been agreed who would be moving in. This naturally concerned the resident, although they have good neighbours around them, felt vulnerable with this news. Again, who would be moving in? Who knows? Well, we know who's moving in now because they're online, but like I say, this was prepared before that email. Most of all, though, Chair, without a doubt, the biggest concern is the location of the building. It is in the middle of the village. It overlooks a playing field, a playground, which is regularly used by young children. There is not enough parking in the area, an area which has already seen several road traffic accidents. There are no facilities in the village. The nearest shop is almost a mile away, and the bus service that is currently in place is not reliable. Yet, it is believed that the location of this building is suitable for an HMO. I, for one, question that decision. I, like other members of the Merthyr Tydfil County Borough Council, know what demands there are for accommodation of this nature. We only have to see the weekly planning list to see that there are regular applications to change a building's use
from residential or commercial to an HMO. Today, Chair, I hope that my representations are heard by the committee. I hope that the recent site visit, the petition that was submitted with over 1,275 signatures is heard. The emails and letters submitted to the planning department by residents who are all anxious and concerned will all be taken into consideration by members of the planning committee here this evening and a decision-making meeting. I have said previously the building itself may be suitable for an HMO, however, the building is not in the right location. We may be discussing a planning application here this evening, but it goes far further than that. The decision will not just affect residents living in Mount Pleasant today, but future residents, future generations, and the well-being and safeguarding of all concerned. Therefore, Chair, I am asking that the application to change the use of the Mount Pleasant Hotel from a B&B to an HMO by T2 Propco is refused by members this evening. Thank you for allowing me to speak at this meeting. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Darren Roberts. I'm going to hand over now to the planning officers if there's any comments that they need to make to clarify anything.
Yeah, just one quick point of clarification. I appreciate the issue being raised, but the effect on property prices is not a material planning consideration.
Okay, we're going to go on to comments from members now, as normal. Okay, sorry. Questions from members? Any questions? Councillor David Isaac.
Yeah. With what Darren has just told us, how would this affect the proposal, as you can't really propose something for a house you don't own?
Yes, you can. You don't necessarily need to own a property or a piece of land to apply for planning permission on it. We are just considering this application. There are certain processes, procedures, certificates that need to be issued as part of the application process if you don't own the site or the land or the property. But we are still here to consider this application.
So what would happen if it was granted, but these owners didn't want it?
Just wouldn't go ahead.
Yeah.
Permission would be there. If you've got permission, it lasts typically for 5 years, and if it's never implemented, it just lapses. So that would be the case. It's not uncommon for developers to try and get establish if they can get permission on a bit of land, or if they're looking to purchase a property. Sometimes people want to see if they can extend it before they buy it. You know.
Yes, I suppose a good example to clarify would be where you have your sort of red rose or your tailwind bees putting in a planning application. More often than not, it tends to be on a site they don't own at that point.
Mm-hmm. I can clarify. Unless the applicant or the agent withdraws the planning application, you still have a planning application to determine, irrespective of who owns that property.
Okay.
Councillor David Isaac, you finished?
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, Councillor Clive Jones.
Mr. Chair, I just find this absolutely ludicrous. Ludicrous. We've had a site meeting. The planning officers have been dealing with this probably for some time. We got a report here tonight. I was expecting the agent or representative of the developer to be there so we can ask him or her questions. And the seat is vacant because the property's being purchased, so we're told, this afternoon. We've got no idea at this stage, Chair, whether the current owner is going to go ahead with this plan. So we determine an application where, for example, we can't, if they are going ahead with it, we got no opportunity to ask them questions. It's bizarre, frankly. But I have got a question, and unfortunately, no one's here, particularly to answer this question, because I did ask at the site meeting, because there is one of many considerations, is the traffic issue down here, the parking issue. We had a site meeting. It was agreed at the previous planning committee that an engineer would be present. There wasn't. I sent a letter last night, Chair, as you know, I copied you in, to the head of engineering. And the answer I got was a member of the engineering staff would be here. But I'll ask the question. In the report on page 56, and it's under the heading application site, last paragraph, it says a total of 3 parking spaces are provided on site, and unrestricted parking can also be accommodated along Cardiff Road. It says elsewhere in the report from I think it's a comment there somewhere, but must have been involved with the engineers, that to accommodate 3 spaces, where I presume is where we had the site meeting, which goes onto the main road, you've got to move one of the cars out of the way for other cars to get out of there. So, in the opinion of the planning officers, is there an adequate parking space there, particularly at the front of the property?
Yes. First of all, I just want to apologise on behalf of the head of Highways and Engineering. He was attending the meeting via Teams at the start, but due to emergency, had to leave. In relation to the particular issue, I'll refer back to the Highways, the comments we received from the Highways Department, and the state. Whilst the provision that is being put forward is no worse than that of the extant use, the Highways Authority consider that given the above level of parking as proposed, the development is acceptable in that regard.
My other question is in relation to if this application is live and it goes through, what they're applying for is a 1-bedroom flat, a 2-bedroom flat, and 6 individuals. Now, the 1-bedroom flat, there's going to be at least, I would have thought, probably 2 persons occupying it. The 2-bedroom flat, there's going to be at least 3. And as far as the 6 individual bedrooms are concerned, could you confirm that those individuals could have a partner staying there permanently?
In terms of the way the parking provision is calculated, it's based on the bedrooms. It's not based on the number of people in those bedrooms. So that's the parking guidelines. So typically for a 1-bed apartment, you would look for 1 space. For a 2-bed apartment, depending on the size of it, you might look for 1 or 2 parking spaces. And then obviously it's up to a maximum of 3. So when we were assessing this particular application, we obviously having regard to the fact that there was a residential use there, but it was also run as a B&B. So there would have been potentially, a similar number of persons parking in the area as the current proposal. And that's the sort of the general advice.
Yeah, and in terms of the specific issue, in terms of the number of HMO bedrooms and then partners of visitors date as well, again, that isn't something that we can control. We are assessing the use of a 6-bedroom HMO. As in this case, it is 6 bedrooms. It then also gets into realms of requiring licensing and those sorts of things, and those issues in terms of if you did end up with sort of 12 people across the 6 bedrooms, if there was a couple in each room, those sorts of issues could be picked up by environmental health, the licensing process, and other agencies as well.
But I know what the answer is, but I'm going to ask you the question through you, Chair. Unfortunately, licensing by the Environmental Health Department is not undertaken before as part of the planning application. It's done afterwards. So we're doing the thing backwards, in my opinion. And it's, as you quite rightly say, licensing will be involved. But I'll ask you the question, would you agree that with the number of flats and the number of bedrooms here, that there could be up to 12 to 14 people living here at any one time?
I don't think we'd be able to comment on those exact numbers of residents. It would depend on the size of the rooms themselves, and then because that will then feed into the licensing process terms of minimum space standards. And again, that'll be something for Environment and Health to look at.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Clive Jones. Any other members with questions? Okay, nobody's indicating. Any members with comments? Councillor Michelle Jones.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, my concerns in relation to this planning application is the potential increase in noise and disturbance. This potential HMO currently houses just 2 residents, I've been led to believe, and obviously this is going to increase to 10, which will mean a greater increase in noise and disturbance, which I believe is a grounds for objections to planning. I'm also concerned in regards to the environmental and health impacts, which I also believe are valid grounds for objection. The overcrowding, inadequate waste management that could potentially happen, poor maintenance that could also potentially happen, could lead to unsanitary conditions. As far as I'm aware, this has never been a property that's held residence of 10 people. So I do believe that this could potentially pose health risks, not just to the occupants, but also to the neighbourhoods at large.
Thank you, Councillor Michelle Jones. Anybody else like to comment? Councillor Scott Thomas.
Yeah, so there's a lot that's been obviously said in respect to this this evening, and I'm pretty much going to go over quite a little bit of it. But one thing that I needed to sort of do a little bit of digging on was something that sort of Councillor Isaac sort of identified in the previous item, the amount of residents that raised objection to this. Now, the population of the Merthyr Vale ward in its totality is around 3,775 people, and over a third of that, so 1,275 people came back and actually said, nah, we don't want this. That's a third. That's a substantial amount. And it'd be dreadful to go against something like that. However, as it's been stated, it is a highly busy road. It is a through road when the A470 goes down every single time. There's accidents left, right and centre on that road. Traffic lights that sometimes you can't even see kids walking past because there are cars parked on the zigzags. You know, it's just it's dreadful. There's no amenities within the village. Yes, okay, we've got a playing field used by kids. Yes, we've got little bits and pieces, but there's no, the nearest shop is near enough a mile away in Merthyr Vale itself. The location of the building overlooks a play area, nearby football pitch, and residents are absolutely concerned, and rightfully so, of what their children's safety could be. Grandchildren, nieces, nephews, you know, anyone who's they're in care of. An email was sent out by resident behind me here on June 14th, along with a number of emails and complaints from other residents. That highlights the concerns, along with images. This, coupled with a substantial petition, clearly shows the will of the residents of the village and the wider Merthyr Vale ward. Today, we received correspondence, myself and Darren, from the new owners, essentially. And I know Darren, like, as he said, has shared that with you guys. The paperwork has now been submitted and will be confirmed tomorrow. We have that as in the message as well. And the residents themselves, and I want to quote them here, have said, the new owners then have said that present the letter at tonight's planning committee, and we would ask that you recommend that D2 application on our property is not passed, and we do not agree to the application on our property. Now, one of the concerns that has been raised is, could this couple, and I use air quotes here because it has been used previously, are they just a stepping stone for, if this application does get approved, that they are just going to bypass and go straight to D2 and say, look, we've done our job, it's yours? That is a fear. That's a genuine fear of the community. And I'm not